A major development has now come in the Ukraine war negotiations, with Washington saying that a peace deal is nearly in place, even as Kyiv stresses that key issues still need ironing out. Now, a senior US official has told reporters that Ukraine has agreed to the peace deal in principle, with only minor details left to be resolved now. The official spoke as the US Army Secretary Dan Driscoll has now held a second day of meetings with Russian officials in Abu Dhabi, which is part of the Trump administration's push to end the conflict. But the US assessment goes further than what Ukrainian leaders are saying publicly. Ukraine's delegation, which is also present in Abu Dhabi, has confirmed progress, but they stopped short of declaring the agreement so far. In a post on X, Ukraine's National Security Chief Rustem Umerov said that the two sides had reached a common understanding on the core terms of the proposal discussed earlier in Geneva. He added that Kyiv now expects support from European partners as the next step moving forward, and it is preparing for President Volodymyr Zelensky's possible visit to the US to complete the final steps and make a deal with President Trump. Now, Zelensky himself has struck a cautious tone here. In his morning message on X, he said that Geneva talks had opened many prospects that can make the path to the peace real, noting that solid results, however, emphasizing that much work still lies ahead. Now, the diplomacy is intensifying on all fronts, with Washington signaling a breakthrough, Kyiv appealing for European backing, and Zelensky preparing for what could be the most consequential meeting of his presidency. Now, peace framework may be taking shape, but the final agreement is still being negotiated so far.
The United States is committed to bringing peace to Ukraine and ending this war and ending the bloodshed that we have seen on the front lines. President Trump has proven that he can certainly bring peace to other regions of the world, and most recently to the Israel-Gaza conflict, and we certainly hope to see that in Ukraine. The White House is certainly optimistic, but the Trump administration has put a great deal of pressure on Ukraine, and Zelensky finds himself in a serious corruption scandal, and I think that he's also eager at this point to make a deal. The question is that deal going to cost Ukraine a lot of land? And Zelensky is not going to agree to that. Whether he wants to or not, he can't. The Ukrainian people will not stand behind that, and the Ukrainian people really hope to retain as much territory as possible.
And now moving on, an Indian woman from Arunachal Pradesh has now accused Chinese immigration officials at the Shanghai airport of detaining and harassing her. And this is for hours after refusing to recognize her Indian passport during a transit halt. Now, India has launched a strong protest with Beijing over this incident. However, China has refused the allegations and claims that the immigration officials acted according to the law. Reacting to this, MEA spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal said that Arunachal Pradesh is an integral part of India, and this is self-evident fact. No amount of denial by the Chinese side is going to change this indisputable reality. That's what India is now saying to these allegations. Now, viewers, the issue of detention has been taken up strongly with the Chinese side, and Chinese officials have still not been able to explain their actions, which are in clear violation of several conventions governing international air travel. The actions by the Chinese officials also violate their own regulations that allow visa-free transit up to 24 hours for nationals of all countries. Now, in this case, Prema Wongjom Thondok, who lives in the UK, was travelling from London to Japan on November 21st with a 3-hour layover at Shanghai airport. She alleges that the officers at the immigration counter declared her passport invalid only because it listed Arunachal Pradesh as her place of birth. That's the latest incident that has now sparked tensions between India and China.
Basically, I am an Indian citizen residing in UK for about 14 years. And I was traveling on my holiday from London Gatwick to Japan via a transit in Shanghai. And basically, I went past the e-gates, happily queuing up for the security gates to transfer onto my next flight onto Osaka in Japan. And one of the officials from the Chinese immigration came over and singled me out of the queue. Basically said, "Look, India, took my name and something and took me out." So I asked her what is happening, and she basically didn't say much and just basically asked me to follow her. Took me close to the e-gates where there is the immigration, the manual counters for the immigration. And then she went on to say, "Arunachal, not India, China. Your visa not acceptable. Your basically passport is invalid."
And now shifting focus, Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar has once again addressed the ongoing speculation over a possible change in the Chief Minister's post. Now he said that he does not wish to discuss the matter publicly, but adding that it is a secret deal between a handful of senior leaders, emphasizing that he acts according to his conscience and does not want to weaken the party. Now, he even praised Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, calling him a senior leader and an asset to the Congress, noting that Siddaramaiah will present the next state budget. But Shivakumar also stressed that focus should remain on the party's long-term goals, including the 2028 Assembly elections and the 2029 Lok Sabha polls, rather than internal power tussles. On the ongoing support coming from legislators pushing for him as the CM, Shivakumar said that he was unaware of any efforts and is not in contact with those leaders.
ನನಗೆ ಚೀಫ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತಲೂ ನಾನು ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ 5-6 ಜನದ ಗುಟ್ಟಿನ ವಿಚಾರ. ನಾನು ಇದನ್ನು ಬೈರೋಂಗ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು. ನಾನು ನಂಬಿರೋದು ನಮ್ಮ ಆತ್ಮಸಾಕ್ಷಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಆತ್ಮಸಾಕ್ಷಿಗೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ನನಗೆ ಪಕ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ಥರದ ಮುಜುಗರ ತರಕ್ಕೂ ನನಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಪಕ್ಷನ ವೀಕ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೂ ನನಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಪಕ್ಷ ಇದ್ರೆ ನಾವು, ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತರಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವು. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮ ನಾಯಕರುಗಳಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ CM ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರು ಹಿರಿಯರು, ಅವ್ರು ನಮ್ಮ ಪಕ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಆಸ್ತಿ. ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ನಾವು 7.5 ವರ್ಷ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಮುಗಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬಜೆಟು ಮಂಡಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಬಹಳ ಸಂತೋಷ. ಅಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಲೀಡರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರು ದುಡಿದಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರು ಪಕ್ಷ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ 28 ಗುರಿ ನೋಡಿ 29 ಗುರಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡಬೇಕು.
And now more from Karnataka, senior AIADMK leader and former minister K.A. Sengottaiyan now is set to join actor Vijay TVK. This move comes after Sengottaiyan openly revolted against AIADMK General Secretary EPS, demanding the reinstatement of the party workers who were expelled before. Now, following the internal dispute, Sengottaiyan was removed from all organizational responsibilities. And now sources say that he held a closed-door meeting with TVK leaders in Chennai on Sunday before returning to his hometown. Now he has arrived in Chennai and will in fact submit a resignation as MLA ahead of his formal induction into the TVK. Now viewers, this development marks a major reshuffle in Tamil Nadu politics, with the key leaders now shifting allegiances just ahead of the 2026 Assembly elections.